What makes me happy is I've managed to restore the mill, that this space can now be used. My love for it and my energy, if you like, to restore it and respect it has come through, and that, it's got a very special atmosphere, I think, the mill. Hello, I'm Claire, and I'm an artist. We've lived here since 2004, so that's 22 years. So we live in Kent, the Garden of England, a beautiful spot near Tenterden. It's about 30 to 40 miles from London. So the age of the mill, it was built in the early 1800s. It's called a smock mill because of the shape of the tower. It's like a farmer's smock. And it's built on the ridge. And at one time there were 32 mills along this ridge. So you come up the drive and immediately you'll see that there's the huge white tower and this wonderful staging, which actually is really wide, that runs round the mill on the first floor, and there's the outside oak staircase that leads up to it, which is your front door and your arrival to the mill. So when you arrive, you come into the kitchen, and it's a wonderful octagonal space, the whole floor of the mill. It's got massively high ceilings and these huge beams that span across, which are rather wonderful, and the H-beams, which hold above, or would have held above, the grinding stones. And then you've got a double aspect. You've got the morning light coming in this window and the evening light coming in that one. And you've also got these rather wonderful industrial lights that I got from a place in Hastings many years ago, which unfortunately don't do those anymore. But it was a lovely addition. I really felt that you needed to be very careful about things that you put in, like lighting, that had to feel right. And those to me feel really good for the kitchen. And then it flows into the dining area. So you've got this area where you can sit. And of course it's great because then you can chat to people while they're cooking. And it's just got a lovely atmosphere, this space. It really has. So the living area is quite a cozy area because you've got the gas wood burning stove, very comfortable sofa, and these chairs I picked up from eBay. I'm a real forager for things. I like finding things, and I felt they really worked because of the wood in the mill. And then these two little prints here are pieces from my work, and it was taken from, there was a supermoon. I went for this walk, and that's what inspired these images here. So I think they work really well with the mill. So the pulley system is rather an amazing item. It's made up of actual old wheels and parts that we found. This is Rob Longley from Cranbrook Iron, who helped me with this. And he designed all the incredible angles that the pulley would have to go through in order to open the hatches, because one of the things I felt really strongly about was I didn't want to have the staircases shut off with walls and doors, because it would make the rooms into rather odd shapes, and it would take a huge chunk out of the room too. So I argued with the planners that we needed to have hatches, because hatches would be what a mill would have normally had. They had hatches to hoist up the sacks of flour. So hatches was the right way to go. And also we would use this method to open this to go down to a lower ground floor, which can also be let out for friends of the people who were staying here. So the bedroom, obviously you go up the stairs from the sitting room into the bedroom, and the bedroom is a rather beautiful space again, because again you've got a similar setup with the double window aspect. And in here I was really careful about how I designed the stairs. So I designed this spiral staircase that takes you up to the bathroom, and I didn't want it to block the window with light, so I used something called a web net that's instead of spindles. And this room, then that became a real feature within this room. But I also should say that there's the giant spur wheel with the shaft that comes down, and that's all original, with the enormous beams that span again across. And you lie in bed, this rather lovely bed, looking up at this giant spur wheel with this spiral staircase. So there's elements of echo. There's the cogs of the giant spur wheel, there's the cogs of the treads of the stairs, which I designed to work together. So the bathroom of the mill, obviously, it's right at the top of the building. It's got amazing views. It's also got a certain amount of machinery, and so we had to work out how the shower would fit in and the bath. And you've got the double wallower above, which is quite rare, and you've got the sack hoist, which would have brought the sacks of corn up for the miller. And interestingly, above the bath, which I always think is really fascinating that we've still got this, is Corporal Wright 1942. Was where the soldiers were, the gunners actually, were housed in World War II at the very start, because it was a really good view for seeing planes, doodlebugs being sent over. So they were housed there. So there is this graffiti of the soldiers above the bath, which makes it quite special. There is a ring beam that goes right the way around, which is an oak ring beam. And the mechanism of the cap would have been in the old days the leather and the oil. And it became a contemporary piece like our iPhones. It was the first of the way they used these rollers so that the cap actually could roll around. So the bathroom had a really specific, when in its day, it was called the dust floor. So it separated the workings, which would have been the grinding stones in the bedroom, from the machinery that would have been in the cap. So it's quite nice that it was the dust floor, it kept it clean, and it's become a bathroom now. So the shower was something that I designed because I was really keen to be able to see the walls of the mill, the woodwork all round behind. But it had to be obviously how it was. So it's set actually into the tiles, and I designed it so you could literally just walk in. So it's a wet room shower with underfloor heating under the tiles. And it's a really beautiful space to shower in. So the staging kind of wraps around the building, and it's really quite wide. It's 9 foot wide. It is exactly how it was. We took it off the photos that we had. And what's rather lovely is all the oak that was used came from Hull Park, which is next door to the mill. And we used the oak that came from trees that have been, they fell in the 1987 storm. And so they were restored and we were able to use this oak. So it's really special that the mill, which would have used local products to restore or be repaired in the past, is exactly how we did it with the oak. So the garden wraps itself around the mill and the house. It's about an acre, and we have subsectioned it so that we can have different areas, and we've got geese and chickens and ducks that wander around, and so there's fresh eggs daily. And the guests who come and stay here, they have their own secret garden that they can go to when it gets a bit windy on the staging of the mill. And it's a beautiful spot where they can barbecue and they can sit and have a drink, and they can just generally just unwind and be calm there. So the mill was built in the early 1800s, and it was built by someone called James Goble. He was the millwright that built the mill. The style of it is in the shape of a smock, because it's like a farmer's dress when the old days when they used to wear the smocks. So it was called a smock mill, and it's built on the ridge. And at one time there was 32 windmills along here. So when we bought the house, the mill was just sitting within the garden, derelict. And we had to focus first of all on the house to get it into a state where we were quite a large family, and so we had to renovate that first, and then we could focus on the mill. And the mill was somewhere that was really special, I felt. She was like a drab old duchess because she was clad in marine ply and blackened brickwork, but when you went in, there were these stairs that were like ladders, basically, that the miller used to run up and down between the floors, and his footfall had shaped the treads into this rather beautiful, worn-away tread, which was like his spirit, if you like, was there. And so I wanted to use as much as I could of anything that was in the mill to be kept in the mill. So that was my vision of how I wanted to start working on it. An item that I really admire, I love actually, is the Pulley System. That is a piece that I just look at and fills me with delight. And then the other one is the spiral staircase upstairs in the bedroom. Again, it's just got a presence, and I love the way it's worked out. And one more is in the bedroom, there's this beautiful chair that's an Italian chair, which I bought from a place in Rye called the Monastery. And it used to be an antiques place where you could buy all sorts of antiques, and it's now a venue, but it's just a fantastic chair that I managed to blow my budget on. So a couple of my favourite spots would be here, where I'm sitting in the sitting room part, when the sun's going down and you get this incredible glow in the room, and it creates such an aura, such a wonderful light. That's rather beautiful. And then the other is when I go and get in the bath right at the top of the mill and looking out across the Kent countryside, and then just sitting in the bath looking up around at all the machinery. So I think those two spaces are probably my favourite spots of the mill. What makes me happy is I've managed to restore the mill, that this space can now be used. My love for it and my energy, if you like, to restore it and respect it has come through, and that, it's got a very special atmosphere, I think, the mill.
Could you tell us something surprising about yourself?
Well, it's not exactly about me, but it's about the mill. When I restored it, I had a cable put in from top to bottom, because I'm sure you're aware there's no cap, fantail or sails. The idea would be that it would create electricity by using the fantail, and I've had a Westminster University student design how this could be done, so it is possible, and it is my dream to make this come true.